Sunday when I was a teenager, our pastor had us do that thing, where you stand up and you're supposed to greet the people around you. And as I turned to greet the people and just kind of endure the couple of minutes that we were supposed to get up from our seats, someone came over to me that I hadn't seen in a really long time, and she gave me a hug, and she asked me a question that really stuck with me all of these years later. She said, "Katie, it's so good to see you. How are you? What has the Lord been doing in your life?" And in that moment, I had no answer for her. I was so struck by that question for some reason that I didn't have anything that I could say, and it felt like time stopped, and every thought that I had ever had in my mind felt like it fell out of my brain, and I could not think of a single moment in time where I could remember something that the Lord had done for me. And it wasn't because he hadn't been working in my life. It was because I had not taken the time to remember the things that he had done. And so as the pastor kind of had to sit back down, I didn't answer her question. I kind of just stood there with my mouth open, and she just kind of brushed it off and said, "We'll just catch up later." But as I returned to my seat, that question lingered, and it was followed by two other thoughts. And the first thought was, how have I made it this far in my life as a Christian, and I've never been asked that question before? And the second thought was, why couldn't I answer it? And so today I want to just talk to you. You might be wondering why I told you that story, but I want to talk to you guys about remembrance and remembering the things that the Lord has done for us. And I want to look at one of my favorite passages for remembrance, and we find it in Joshua chapter 3. Chapter 3 and 4, they're one of my favorite passages of Scripture, and they teach us two things about remembrance. They teach us the how do we remember what the Lord has done for us, and the why. Why is it important for us to remember? If we back up just a little bit, we see the nation of Israel, they have to cross the Jordan River, right? The Lord has promised them the land of Canaan, but they have to cross this obstacle first. And Joshua tells the people, consecrate yourselves in chapter 3, verse 5, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. And he tells them that to cross the river, what he's going to have them do is he's going to have the priest walk with the Ark of the Covenant, and they're going to stand in the river, and the moment the soles of their feet touch the ground of the river, the waters will be stopped, and the entire nation of Israel will be able to pass through the river on dry land. And that's exactly what happens. So the people see the Lord do this incredible work. He sees the river stop. Thousands of people cross the river on dry land, right? And so they've seen a mighty work of the Lord. And this is where we get the how to remember. In Joshua chapter 4, if we look at chapter 4, verses 2 and 3, he gives them instructions. He says, take 12 stones from here, out of the midst of the Jordan, from the very place where the priest's feet stood firmly, and bring them over with you and lay them down in the place where you lodge tonight. So, how do we remember? How did they remember? They took an object and they set up a memorial to remind themselves. They set up a marker in time and space in front of their faces to remind themselves of the things that God had done. So how do we remember? We set up a marker in time and space in front of our faces to remind ourselves of what God has done. And it may not be in the form of stones. For me, it's in the margins of my Bible. I write down the specific prayers that I have, and as the Lord reveals over time answers to questions or answers to prayers, I'll go back to those pages and I'll mark down the things that he has answered or the things that he's revealed. And I set that marker up in time and space in front of my own face so that I can remind myself of what the Lord has done. And the next thing that we see is the why. Why is it important for us to do this? And if we look at verse 21 again in chapter 4, it says, when your children ask their fathers in time to come, what do these stones mean? Then you shall let your children know, Israel passed over this Jordan River on dry ground. And continuing in verse 24, so that all of the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, that you may fear the Lord your God forever. So why do we do it? We do it so that the other people around us will see and recognize that we serve a mighty God, and to remind ourselves of the work that's doing. So as we go throughout our week and as we continue throughout our lives, let's try to be a people that remember what the Lord is doing for us, to set up those markers in time and space in front of our faces to remind ourselves that the Lord is mighty, that he cares for our needs. Have a great week.